Kyle, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the outcome of this game for the first matchup between the Chiefs and the Chargers?
Well, I think this game lived up to expectations. When it comes to the Chargers and the Chiefs, these are some of the best teams in the NFL. And based off of our own power rankings from last week, I mean, both these teams were in the top five. The Chiefs were basically damn near at the top, and the Chargers were at number five. And it's just indicative of what I think these teams are going to be for the rest of the year. Even though that the Chargers lost this game, it doesn't mean that they're just going to fall apart and the Chiefs are just going to reign supreme. I think the Chargers are going to be there every step of the way. And granted, let's put this into perspective. This is week 2. And let's face it, both teams are not at their top level yet. A lot of teams are still figuring out, and these two teams with the Chiefs and the Chargers are no exception. There were some throws by Patrick Mahomes specifically in this game. When I look back to on the Chiefs side here, Patrick got away with about 3 or 4 possible interceptions, and some of them were actually interceptions that got called back because of a defensive penalty or offsetting penalties, or it got overturned by review. And that was really indicative by what the Chargers were bringing defensively. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack were bringing pressure all night, and it definitely influenced Patrick on some of his throws, because even though statistically Patrick played very well, that's just based off of numbers. When you actually watch the game, Patrick was facing pressure the entire night, and by and large, he was able to play pretty effectively, but he got away with some. There's no doubt about that. And with Justin Herbert was playing a fantastic game up until the fourth quarter when he threw that pick six that basically changed the entire complexion of the game. Because at that point, the game was tied. I believe the score was 17-17. The Chargers are on the 3-yard line, and it's first down. Basically, worst case scenario is it ends in a turnover. But best case scenario, they either get a touchdown or they get a field goal, and at least the Chargers are up against KC with about half of the fourth quarter left. He gets picked off. The Chiefs run it back for a touchdown. It's now 24-17 in favor of the Chiefs. That, to me, changed the entire complexion of the game, because up until that point, the Chargers had a pretty comfortable lead, but give credit where credit is due. Patrick and that Chiefs offense, they were able to get back into a groove and march the ball down the field effectively and get some points on the board. But that turnover by Justin Herbert, he panicked. There's no other way to say it. The Chiefs brought pressure right at the middle. He got in his face. He threw the ball sidearm, and the Chiefs jumped on it for a touchdown. Now, the biggest thing that I could take away from this game is both teams are still, I think, figuring it out. Like I said, this is early September. This is not the top version of these teams yet. So both teams are going to learn lessons when they watch this game on film, probably throughout this weekend. But overall, I did pick the Chiefs to win this one, and they did end up, getting a pretty close victory here. But I think the biggest concern, and Kevin, I think you're probably going to touch on this pretty soon here, is the injury that Justin Herbert sustained looked like an abdomen injury or possibly a rib injury. But that's something that we're going to have to monitor moving forward. But still, I would say overall, it was a good win by the Chiefs in a very close competitive match.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, quite honestly, I looked at this game right when the schedule came out, and I said, this is must-see television. And for the most part, we were able to watch a lot of it. And I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, the quarterback duel was great. It didn't disappoint. The only turnover was, of course, Justin Herbert's pick six, like Kyle already alluded to. I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, there's one thing that I'm not happy with. Justin Herbert threw the ball 48 times. A lot of those pass plays were play actions, were bootlegs, were rollouts, were, throwing in motion off your right foot or, throwing off of the right side. And I'm just sitting there like, there were a lot of play actions, but there were no run plays. I mean, for the most part, they ran the ball a total of 24 times for only 75 yards. I don't understand when you run as much play action as they do for them not to run the ball as much as they didn't. It just, to me, it didn't make up. I had mentioned it to Kyle a couple of times, and then it just literally continued to happen. And it was like play action after play action after play action. And there was one drive in the fourth where they were pinned within their own 10-yard line, and it was 3 straight play action plays to where 2 were incomplete passes, and then he was sacked on third down. So I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, maybe the play calling has to change just a little bit. I mean, I get it. Justin Herbert is one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the league. You have to lean on your best player, but Austin Eckler was getting decent chunks of yards here and again. And of course, you don't have to necessarily just roll right out of a shotgun position and have a play action designated for you immediately. You have to change it up, change the formation, get under center, get in a different formation. uh, I'm old fashioned. Bring back some of the eye. Again, it depends on the play calling, the offensive coordinator. I'm not necessarily someone who studies the formations as much as I used to, nor am I a Chargers fan. So I'll leave that where it is. But in terms of where the Chiefs were successful, they ran the ball effectively. I would say that because of Edwards-Hilaire's big breakout run on that last Kansas City drive, obviously that kind of carried the most yards available to them during that game. But prior to that, it wasn't necessarily incredible. But Patrick Mahomes, like Kyle said, man, there were a couple plays. Pat got away with some. I'll leave it at that. But that Charger front four, that Charger front five, it ain't no joke, man. There were 8 QB hits on Kansas City's side. Pat was on his back quite a bit. There were a couple plays where if it wasn't on his back, he was getting pressured and had to get rid of it. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa are no joke. That is the easy answer for the best tandem in terms of the best pass rushers in football on the same team. Uh, that duo is going to absolutely wreak havoc throughout the entire season. So I would say that the Chargers need to build off of that. J.C. Jackson got burned in one instance to where, one of their tight ends turned him around, and he missed a deflection by, I want to say, the length of my pinky. It was just super, super mistimed. And I mean, like, I'm not even joking. If he jumps a quarter of a millisecond earlier, he probably breaks that play up. But neither here nor there. It's not going to be about what ifs. The Chargers didn't execute in that one play. The Chiefs were able to capitalize on it, get some points on the board. I look forward to the next time these two teams face off. And again, I will say this again and again. Anytime this division plays each other, I got to watch it.